After I cooked dinner for 14 people, my wife's brother clapped me on the back. Every family should have a clown. Thank you that you make us look normal. The daughter nearly choked with laughter. Daddy is like a wet napkin. And the wife leaned back in her chair and grinned. He's like Rumba, quiet, programmable, and only useful when it's dirty. Everyone laughed. I smiled. And yesterday my wife and her mother came to me in tears, begging to talk. If you had asked me a month ago what it takes to completely change a man's life, I might have said something like a near-death experience, or a lottery win, or maybe losing someone close. Turns out all it took for me was a joke. But to explain how I got there, how I ended up walking away from the life I'd built over 15 years, we need to go back to last Saturday night. My brother-in-law, Troy, was turning 45, and as usual, I'd spent 3 solid days in the kitchen prepping a full spread for 14 people. I've always been the cook in the family. It started off as a passion, something that made me feel useful and proud. I liked feeding people. While everyone else lounged around on their phones or watched TV, I'd be in the kitchen fine-tuning my braised short ribs or whisking together a reduction sauce from scratch. Nobody ever asked me to do it. I just did. That night, I made handmade gnocchi, slow-roasted beef tenderloin, the expensive kind you have to call ahead for at the butcher's. Dessert was a dark chocolate soufflé with espresso crème anglaise. I plated each dish like I was auditioning for a cooking show. As I walked out with the final platter, Troy clapped me hard on the back, hard enough to send a splash of red wine sauce over the edge of the serving bowl, and said, loud enough for the whole table to hear, every family needs a clown. Thanks for making the rest of us look like normal people, Owen. The table erupted in laughter. Not polite chuckles, but genuine belly laughs. People were wheezing. Even my daughter, Riley, who's 17 and usually glued to her phone, looked up just in time to say, yeah, Dad's like a soggy tissue, he sort of holds things together, but mostly he just falls apart. More laughter. And then came the final blow. My wife of 15 years, Megan, leaned back in her chair, swirling wine in her glass like some smug villain from a Netflix drama, and said, Owen's basically a Rumba. Quiet, programmable, only useful when there's a mess to clean up. The table lost it. Even her mother, Ellen, was wiping tears of laughter from her cheeks. My nephew literally pounded the table like he couldn't breathe. And me? I stood there, holding the platter of beef like an idiot, smiling like it was funny. Like I was in on the joke. Here's the thing about being the family joke, eventually you stop realizing it's not normal. You convince yourself that this is just how your family shows love, sarcasm, teasing being the punchline. But that night, something inside me snapped. Maybe it was the way Riley joined in like she'd been waiting years to throw her jab. Maybe it was the look Megan gave me afterward, not concerned, not apologetic, just amused. Or maybe I was just tired. Tired of trying so hard to be appreciated and getting scraps of mockery in return. I finished serving. I smiled through dessert. I even cleaned up while everyone moved into the living room to drink and laugh some more. That night, I lay awake in bed beside Megan, who was snoring softly, scrolling through the photo gallery on my phone. Picture after picture of birthdays, holidays, anniversaries. Every one of them had me in the kitchen wearing that same hopeful, dopey smile. Like a dog waiting for a pat on the head. I'm not confrontational. Never have been. Megan handled all the arguments in our marriage. I was the peacekeeper. The fixer. But at 3:12 a.m. I made a decision. I wasn't going to be the joke anymore. By sunrise, I'd already made coffee. When Megan stumbled into the kitchen, half awake and reaching for her mug, I told her I was going to the store. She barely looked up from her phone. Instead, I drove to the bank. I withdrew exactly half of our joint savings and checking, nothing more, nothing less. I wasn't out to screw her. I just needed a clean line. Then I drove across town to my sister Lauren's apartment. Lauren's always been the only one who seemed to actually notice how Megan and her family treated me. Last Thanksgiving, when Troy called me domesticated, she was the only one who didn't laugh. She just looked at me, disappointed. Not in him. In me. Like she wanted to say, why do you let them treat you like this? I didn't have an answer then. Now I do. Lauren listened quietly while I explained everything. Then she hugged me and said, you can stay here. No pressure. Guest room's yours. I did just for a night. By noon, I'd already found a short-term rental. Nothing fancy. 1-bedroom, small kitchen. But it was mine. I signed the lease digitally and paid first, last, and security deposit from my brand new account. I left exactly one thing behind at the house. A note on the kitchen counter. Find someone else to be your Roomba. Then I turned off all notifications. By evening, I had 47 missed calls and texts. 23 from Megan. 15 from Riley. The rest? In-laws. I only replied to one message, Riley's. I love you. I need space. We'll talk soon. The next morning, I called my friend Jonah, who'd been through a brutal divorce the year before. We met for breakfast and he gave me a crash course in clean exits. Document everything. Don't touch joint funds. Don't badmouth her to Riley. Just breathe and build your foundation. That Monday, I took time off from work. Family emergency. Technically not a lie. I spent the day opening new accounts, rerouting auto payments, and canceling subscriptions. No more shared Netflix. No more shared Spotify. If Megan wanted those crime documentaries so badly, she could open her own account. By Tuesday, Ellen, my charming mother-in-law, started calling. I ignored the first 6. The 7th went to voicemail. Owen, this is ridiculous. Whatever happened, I'm sure we can fix it. Megan's devastated. Riley doesn't understand. Please call me back. Fix it? After 15 years of unpaid labor and emotional exhaustion? Yeah. No. Instead, I sat down and started pulling receipts. Screenshots of texts. Photos from family events where I wasn't in a single frame even though I'd done all the cooking. Therapy notes I jotted to myself in sessions I'd attended alone. I organized them into a clean, polite, chronological PDF. Subject line, why I left, a 15-year overview. I sent it to Megan. To Ellen. To Troy. To everyone who had sat at that dinner table and laughed. Then I waited. After I hit send on that email, the silence was deafening. No calls. No messages. Not even the usual passive-aggressive memes from Ellen about men who abandon their families. For almost 6 hours, nothing. Then my phone exploded. Troy, come on, man. It was just a joke. Don't be so sensitive. Ellen, Owen, I had no idea you felt this way. We need to talk face to face. Megan, how dare you share our private issues with the whole family? This is so humiliating. Not a single one of them said the words I was hoping for. I'm sorry. I ignored all of it. I turned off notifications again and made myself some dinner, frozen pizza, and a sad Caesar salad from a bag. Still better than cooking for 14 ingrates. The next day, Wednesday, Megan's tone shifted. Drastically. Her text read, I miss you. I never realized how much you do. Riley and I had cereal for dinner because neither of us can cook anything decent. It was the first time in years I'd heard even a hint of appreciation. And yeah, I'll admit it, I felt a little vindicated. Not spiteful, just justified. For once, they were forced to feel my absence instead of just expecting my presence. That night, I called Jonah again. This time, we met at his place. He'd already printed out some basic separation agreement templates. Nothing binding, just a starting point. We went through them over beers and leftover chili. He handed me a draft that was, let's just say, realistic. Not cruel. Not petty. Just fair. It outlined who had handled what in the household. Me, cooking, cleaning, managing Riley's school calendar, booking doctor's appointments, coordinating holidays, paying the credit cards. Megan, booking hair appointments and keeping her wine rack full. I didn't plan to send it yet. Jonah's advice was clear. Let reality marinate. Like a good roast. They're still in the denial phase. He was right. By Thursday, Ellen started calling again. I finally answered. Please, Owen, she said. This is tearing the family apart. Megan is distraught. Riley's walking around like a ghost. I paused, then asked, were you distraught when you laughed at me being compared to a vacuum cleaner? Silence. Then a sigh. That was unfortunate. I didn't realize it. You didn't want to realize. I hung up. That night, I began organizing more documentation. Not for revenge, just for clarity. Old emails, text threads, screenshots. Even birthday cards with those little barbed compliments. Happy birthday to the guy who proves that being sweet in the kitchen doesn't mean success in life. Charming. Friday brought a surprise. A voicemail from Megan. Her voice cracked halfway through. She'd just gotten declined at the grocery store trying to use our joint credit card. Apparently, she hadn't noticed I'd been the one paying it off for years. Welcome to budgeting, Megan. By Saturday, a full week since the infamous birthday dinner, I woke up feeling better than I had in years. I was still sad, sure, but I also felt clear. Light, even. That afternoon, Lauren came over to my place. I made her spaghetti aglio e olio and poured 2 glasses of cheap red wine. She toasted me. To my brother, who finally remembered he's not a doormat. I almost cried into my noodles. But Sunday came, and with it, drama. It started with the doorbell. I opened it to find Megan and Ellen standing there, looking like they'd just watched a beloved pet die. Mascara down their faces. Puffy eyes. Crumpled tissues in hand. I didn't say anything. Just stepped aside and let them in. My apartment isn't much. A one-bedroom with a couch that has more lumps than cushions and a fridge that hums like it's dying slowly. Ellen looked around like she'd just stepped into a crime scene. Megan sat down without saying a word. I offered water. It's all I had besides condiments and a six-pack. Then they started talking. Ellen went first. We've been so worried. Which really meant we've been inconvenienced. I didn't respond. Just stared. That silence? It's powerful. I've learned that quiet people make others uncomfortable when they stop being agreeable. After nearly a minute of me saying nothing, Megan finally cracked. She launched into the usual speech, "We never meant to hurt you. That's just how our family jokes. I didn't know you took it so seriously." Gaslighting 101. So I pulled out my phone and hit play. The audio recording from the birthday dinner. No fancy editing. Just a straight clip. Troy calling me the clown. Riley's comment. Megan's Rumba line. The howling laughter that followed. Megan went pale. Ellen stared at the floor like it might save her. When the audio ended, I said one thing. I've been collecting moments like that for years. And it was true. Not out of spite, at least not at first, but because when you're constantly dismissed, you start keeping receipts. Just in case you ever need them. Screenshots. Notes. Photos. Little things that, on their own, seem harmless. But when compiled, they paint a damning portrait. That's when Megan dropped the bomb. Troy had been coming by the house every day, telling her I was having a midlife crisis and would come crawling back once I remembered where his meals come from. Apparently, he also told Riley to give Dad space. He's just acting out. The second bomb? Troy was in financial trouble. Serious trouble. Like about to lose his house kind of trouble. Megan only knew because he'd asked her for a loan. Just 2 days before everything blew up. I stared at her for a long time, then asked, "Why are you really here, Megan? To apologize? Or to put Humpty Dumpty back together so you can keep leaning on him?" Her tears this time were different. Not manipulative. Not angry. Just raw. "I never thought you'd actually leave," she whispered. "You were always the stable one. The safe one. I didn't think I'd have to consider how you felt because you never pushed back." I stayed quiet. Ellen, to her credit, said something I'll never forget. "I've watched my daughter treat you like I was treated by my husband for 40 years. I said nothing because I thought that was normal. I was wrong. It hit harder than I expected. But I didn't give them a hug. I didn't agree to come home. I told them I needed time. And that if we were going to fix anything, we'd all need therapy. Together." They left looking hollowed out. For once, I didn't. Monday started with microwave leftovers and ended with a ghost from the past showing up in the break room at work. I was halfway through heating up a plastic tray of chicken and rice when I turned around, and there he was. Troy. In a cheap blazer and a polo shirt that looked like it had seen better days in 2017. I have no idea how he got past security. Maybe he lied. Maybe someone let him in. I didn't care. He stood there with his hands in his pockets, trying to look casual like this was just a friendly drop-in. "Can we talk?" he asked, shifting his weight like a kid waiting outside the principal's office. I shrugged. "Sure. Talk." He launched into his speech, one I'm sure he practiced in the mirror that morning. Something about families going through rough patches and how real men stick it out and how I was blowing things out of proportion. I let him finish. Let the silence sit. Then asked, "How's your investment portfolio doing these days?" He blinked. Once. Twice. Like I'd hit a nerve he didn't think I knew about. He stammered something about private matters and not relevant to this. I smiled. "I'm happy to talk about my marriage." "Right after you explained to your clients why you were moving their money around without telling them. Was it true?" I had no idea. But based on the way his face drained of color, I'd guessed pretty damn close. He didn't say another word. Just turned and left. By lunch, I got a text from Ellen. "What did you say to Troy? He came by here looking like a ghost. You didn't threaten him, did you?" I didn't respond. Facts aren't threats. Tuesday brought something I hadn't expected. A message from Riley. "Can we meet for coffee this weekend? Just to talk. I'm not promising anything, but I've been thinking." I stared at it for a long time before typing back. "Of course. Anytime." It was the first olive branch she'd extended in weeks. A small one, but still. Wednesday, Megan tried the credit card again. Another decline. Another voicemail. This is the second time. I didn't even realize how many bills you've been handling. How did I miss all this? Because you didn't care to notice, I thought. But I didn't say it. Instead, I opened the separation document Jonah had helped me finalize. We'd added more detail since the last draft, not just financial division, but a record of emotional labor. Who cooked? Who managed Riley's schedule? Who planned family vacations? Who remembered birthdays, appointments, who kept both sides of the family connected? Spoiler, it wasn't Megan. I wasn't out for revenge. I wasn't even trying to punish her. I just wanted the record to be accurate. Jonah dropped off the papers Thursday night. Told me to wait before sending them. Let it breathe. Let her see what her new normal looks like for another week. See if she still wants to fight or start over. He was right. Again. Friday night was Riley's lacrosse game. I'd never missed one before. Not once. It felt strange staying home. But I didn't want to be there as a stranger on the sidelines, the guy no one talked to. Instead, I sent Riley a delivery after the game, her favorite snacks, and a little handwritten note. Proud of you. Always. Love, Dad. Jonah's daughter plays on the same team. He told me afterward that Riley scored twice and didn't celebrate with her mom and Ellen. Small wins. The weekend brought a twist I hadn't seen coming. Troy's wife, Erica, called me. We've never been close. She's always played along with the family dynamics, even encouraged them sometimes. But she sounded rattled. Quiet. Can I ask you something? She said. Is it true? About the money. I told her what I knew, which wasn't much, but enough to make her suspicious. She did some digging and found hidden bank statements and unpaid mortgage notices buried in Troy's home office. They were weeks away from foreclosure. I didn't rub it in. I told her to talk to a financial advisor. Maybe even a lawyer. Not to punish Troy, but to protect herself and their kids. Thank you, she said. No one's ever really warned me before. By Sunday, 2 weeks after that dinner, things shifted again. Megan stopped texting about missing me and started asking, what can I do to fix this? Ellen sent me a real apology. An email, long, thoughtful, with actual reflection about her role in enabling the family to treat me like furniture. But the biggest surprise came that afternoon. Riley showed up at my apartment. No warning. Just a text. I'm downstairs. Can we talk? I buzzed her in. When I opened the door, she looked smaller. Less like the confident teen who joked about her dad being a wet paper towel and more like the kid who used to beg me to stay in her room until she fell asleep. She didn't hug me, didn't cry right away, just stood there. We sat on the couch and she pulled out a folded pamphlet. It was from her school counselor. She'd been talking to someone. About me. About how she treated me. She admitted that seeing Megan and Troy mock me for years had taught her it was normal. That belittling me was allowed. Expected even. Then she asked me something that shattered my heart and rebuilt it at the same time. Do you think I'm a bad person? I told her the truth. No. I think you're someone who made mistakes. And you're trying to be better. That matters more than anything. When she left, she turned at the door and said, Mom's moving in with Grandma tomorrow. She can't afford the house without you. Thought you should know. I nodded. Didn't say much. But deep inside, something was healing. Not finished. Not fixed. But healing. Monday marked 3 weeks since everything fell apart. That evening, as I was kicking off my shoes and heating up leftover soup, a message from Megan lit up my phone. Just 6 words. We need to talk. No drama. I stared at it for a few seconds, then texted back. Neutral spot. Tomorrow. 3 p.m., Java House downtown. Java House makes these cinnamon rolls the size of car tires. I figured if the conversation went sideways, at least I'd have something sweet to help me cope. She arrived 5 minutes late. No makeup. No jewelry. Hair pulled back like she hadn't bothered. That alone caught my attention. Megan never shows up without layers of presentation. She sat across from me, didn't order coffee. Another red flag. This woman once claimed caffeine was her emotional support beverage. Then she reached into her bag and slid a thick manila folder across the table. And said the last thing I expected to hear. I think I need help, Owen. Not, I miss you. Not, let's fix our family. Not even, I'm sorry. Just that, I need help. Inside the folder were printouts. Therapists. Notes. Highlighted options. She'd already scheduled a consultation for herself. Not couples therapy. Not family sessions. Individual therapy. She talked quietly at first. About the nights she'd spent crying on Ellen's lumpy pull-out couch. About how she used to look down on me for being content while she constantly chased promotions, validation, bigger things. How my stability, my quietness, made her feel inadequate, so she made me smaller just to feel bigger. It hit me like a punch to the chest. She said, I never believed you'd leave. You were the rock. The constant. That scared me more than I knew. I didn't respond right away. Just sipped the worst coffee in the city and watched her try not to fall apart. She continued. Said she wanted to change. Not for me. For herself. For Riley. She admitted that seeing my email, my photos, the recordings, it was like watching herself from the outside and not liking who she saw. And then she pulled out the last document in the folder. The separation agreement. Signed. Every page. At the bottom of the final one, she'd handwritten. I hope we never need this. But I understand why you do. I didn't know what to say. So I just nodded. I'm not asking you to come home, she added. I'm just asking you to believe that I'm trying. Tuesday brought another twist. Troy texted. Office. 2 p.m., need to talk. Just us. I almost replied, not a chance, but my curiosity got the better of me. I set my own terms. We'd meet at the cafe near my job on neutral ground. He walked in looking like a man who'd aged a decade in a month. The designer polos and smug energy were gone. He wore an old button-down with a coffee stain and sat down like someone who hadn't slept. He didn't bother with small talk. Told me 3 clients had pulled out after rumors about his handling of their investments. He said he wasn't blaming me, but people talk. And the timing? Brutal. His wife had frozen their accounts. She was staying at her sister's. Ellen had refused to bail him out. Said it was time he faced consequences. He didn't apologize exactly, but he said I was jealous. Of you. Of how Megan trusted you. Of your calm. I tried to tear it down. I was wrong. Then he asked if I'd speak to his wife on his behalf. Tell her he was trying. The irony nearly made me laugh. The family clown was now the family fixer. I told him I'd think about it if he did 2 things. 1. Publicly apologize for that dinner. 2. Come clean to his wife. Fully. He agreed immediately. Almost too quickly. But that wasn't my problem. Wednesday, Riley came by after school. She'd started dropping in regularly, sometimes with homework, sometimes just for tea and silence. This time she brought something new, a school counseling packet. She wanted my perspective on some exercises her counselor gave her, things about empathy, modeling behavior, respect. We sat on the floor. Talked for hours. About what she saw growing up. About how I let myself be the joke, thinking it was easier than fighting. About how she mirrored that. At one point, she asked, do you think I'll end up like Mom? I answered honestly. You'll end up however you choose. That's the point of growing up. Thursday was Thanksgiving. I'd forgotten all about it. Honestly, I figured they'd just have dinner without me. But Wednesday night, Ellen called. We want to cook. For you. At your place. If that's okay. I nearly laughed. Megan? Ellen? Riley? Cooking together? It sounded like a sitcom disaster waiting to happen. But I agreed. With one rule. My apartment. My turf. They showed up with bags of mismatched ingredients, a Google Doc of recipes, and absolutely no clue what they were doing. It was glorious. Megan burned the stuffing. Riley oversalted the potatoes. Ellen nearly set off the fire alarm. But they tried. God help them, they tried. We sat down to a lopsided turkey, lumpy sides, and way too much cranberry sauce. Ellen raised a glass. To Owen, who never stopped showing up even when we didn't deserve him. I'm sorry. For all the years I stayed silent. Megan followed. Her voice cracked. I'm sorry for treating you like less. For letting Riley believe it was okay to talk to you that way. I'm working on being better. Riley went last. Reading from her phone. You're not a Rumba. Or a soggy tissue. You're the person who made me lunch every day and never missed a game. I was awful. I'm so sorry, Dad. I didn't cry. Not right away. But I did later. After they'd gone. Right after I opened the door for Troy. Yeah. He came too. Brought wine and his wife, Erica. She looked wary. But they came. And Troy, in front of everyone, said, Owen, I'm sorry. For the jokes. The dinners. The years of treating you like you didn't matter. You did. You do. I'm trying to change. You helped me see that. I believed him. At least for now. After dinner, Megan lingered. Asked if this changed anything. I told her the truth. I don't know. But it's a start. Then she asked, would you help us with Christmas dinner? Then quickly added, not cook. Just, teach us. I said yes. Without even thinking. That was a month ago. Since then, Megan and I have gone to 4 counseling sessions. Some of them were brutal. But honest. Riley's been back at least once a week. We talk more than we ever did. Last weekend, I went by the old house to grab some things. The living room was different. New layout. My photos on the walls. Riley's meal plan taped to the fridge with links to cooking tutorials. Megan asked if I wanted to stay for dinner. She made lasagna. From my old recipe. It was too salty. The noodles were undercooked. The sauce was watery. It was perfect. She asked if I'd consider moving back. After New Year's. As a partner. Not a servant. Not a joke. Just a husband. A dad. I told her I'd think about it. And I am. Truly. Yesterday was Christmas. I had lunch at Lauren's. Then dinner at Ellen's. They cooked everything. I just sat, listened, laughed. No one made a joke at my expense. Not one. After the meal, Troy raised his glass. To Owen, who had the courage to walk away and the grace to let us grow. This time, when they toasted me, it wasn't out of pity. It was respect. I don't know what comes next. But I know one thing for sure. I'm not the family punchline anymore. And that in the end is enough.